It could be argued that having been obliged to lead a life of poverty, chastity, and obedience, I know nothing about sex, and thus not qualified to talk on this subject. On the other hand, I could claim I'm better placed than most to view the subject with scientific objectivity and detachment. Furthermore, I'm fortunate in that I was born 10 years earlier than the post-war generations. Those born 3 or 4 years later readily adapted to the cultural revolution of the 60s, but I was just too old. In fact, the generation gap falls somewhere between me, born in 1936, and those born after 1938. I therefore remember the traditions and values that ruled before the big psycho-bang of the 60s. In 1963, the contraceptive pill became available. It suppresses ovulation by interfering with the balance of the female hormones and rendering a woman temporarily sterile. It was designed to make life easier for women to limit the size of their families, and thus release them from domestic tyranny. Its use was, and continues to be, contraindicated for all women with fewer than 2 children, because its full range of physical and psychological side effects is still not known. Strictly speaking, therefore, the pill has been one of the most widely abused drugs over the last few decades. In the first 7 of these videos, I'll try to spell out the consequences. In the 8th and last, I will point the way to a remedy. When the pill was first introduced, medicine was more scientific than it is today. It recognized that because we do not have perfect knowledge of the workings of the human body, it is impossible to completely test new chemicals for dangerous side effects. All we can show with any confidence is that a new product does not kill, at least not outright. The effect of pill residues in the body on subsequent pregnancies was, and remains, unknown. Its psychological side effects were, and remain, also unknown. Consequently, the pill was only seen as a way of limiting the size of families. Doctors were therefore advised to prescribe it only to women who had had 2 children. This precaution is still valid today. These restrictions were quickly dismissed as male chauvinism by feminists. Family doctors found themselves bullied into prescribing first to married women with no children, then unmarried women, then girls. Needless to say, I never allowed myself to be dictated to by Herod and Hitler. It was an attitude to science that was to cost me my career. But as the 60s started swinging, other doctors, emotionally blackmailed by the need to support a wife and a family, had no option but to collaborate. In the following years, the immediate post-war generation explored the world, questioning parental values, allowing itself to be seduced by cannabis abuse and left-wing rhetoric, and bringing about a cultural revolution. Where earlier generations had prized virginity, young women gleefully abandoned bourgeois chastity at the earliest opportunity. With copulation now sterile, free love became all the rage, and practiced for its pleasurable and addictive drug-like sedation. Sexual intercourse ceased to be the sacred procreative right that it had once been. It became just another fix that many came to believe they could not do without. Inevitably, an epidemic of sexually transmitted diseases of all kinds, from malaria and chlamydia to AIDS, ensued. So also did women's lib. But there have been less obvious consequences. Sperm counts and fertility in men has been diminishing. The reason is unknown. Fish have been showing sex changes, and some suspect it is caused by a build-up of stable contraceptive hormones passing unchanged through water treatment works. But it is also possible that hormone residues from the pill still present in the body, could be affecting the development of male embryos conceived after a period of contraception. Again, science doesn't seem to actually know. To those of us old enough to remember life before the pill, when courting couples still mutually masturbated rather than copulating, what in my day Americans called heavy petting, the advent of the contraceptive pill has had serious psychological side effects. Gone are the days of feminine women. The pill appears to have had a masculinizing effect on the female psyche, suppressing maternal warmth and devotion. The pill has acted like a psychological poison, an ultimate gender bender. Increasingly, women started cross-dressing and trying to compete with men in all walks of life. Motherhood became disparaged, and the care of children marginalized and neglected. Many liberated women became bossy and dictatorial. They started thinking they could manage things better than men and jostled into positions of power and authority previously held by men. But all living things face three problems of existence: surviving, finding food, and reproducing. Only women can gestate and reproduce. But childbirth is not a risk-free activity. Every time a woman gets pregnant, she puts her life on the line. Men only do so in exceptional circumstances or on the front line in war. Women, therefore, can be seen as a superior gender. Thus, the concept of sexual equality has diminished rather than enhanced their status.